Kia ora and welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name is Jeremy Downing.
I'm William Chen.
And I'm Sarah Watt.
Each month at Cinema in Context, we discuss two films, one current and one retrospective, with some connection. It could be the same director, the same actor, or a similar theme. This month, we are discussing Weapons, which came out this year, and Barbarian, which came out in 2022. The connection being they are both directed by
Zach Cregger.
Thank you, Sarah. Zach Cregger. Right, let's hear a bit of an overview of... Let's start with Barbarian, 2022's Barbarian. William, what have we got?
Alrighty, so Barbarian is the debut of Zach Cregger, who you might know from the Whitest Kids You Know sketch group. And similar to Jordan Peele, kind of that switch from sketch comedy into flat-out horror with comedy elements around it. It is a wonderful movie starring Georgina Campbell as Tess and Bill Skarsgård as Keith. Justin Long pops in there, so, almost literally. But it's about an Airbnb reservation gone wrong, where two, young, attractive strangers end up at night and, ruined Detroit in an Airbnb being double booked. Shenanigans ensue, and you think, oh, something might happen. Is the guy a creep? What's going to happen? And what does end up happening is far more surprising than the film lets on.
I think it's probably worth jumping in now to say there will be spoilers about these movies.
Oh, yes.
And if there was ever movies to be spoiled, it's these two films, because part of the joy is uncovering or unpacking what the mystery is, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly Barbarian.
Yeah. Thank you, William. Right, Weapons, Sarah.
Yeah, so Weapons is the eagerly awaited follow-up. Not a sequel in terms of story, but Zach Cregger's latest horror feature with slight comedy elements, but not really. So Weapons is a 2025 film. The premise is that it's set in a small town somewhere where one day or one night at 2:17 a.m. the entire class of 17 students of Julia Garner's elementary or primary school class get out of their beds and leave their houses, racing into goodness knows where, and a mystery ensues, particularly as there's one little boy, Alex Lilly, who's in that class, who doesn't disappear. But meanwhile, the community is in uproar, the parents are frightened, what on earth's happened to their children, and all suspicion falls on the rather taciturn Julia Garner.
Nice. Where should we start? Have people seen the Barbarian? I guess that's the first question.
Yes, so Barbarian was on my best of list for that year. I remember the experience of watching it, the break happening, and then me bursting out laughing. What the heck is this?
Yeah.
It is such a confident debut film. And to see it carried on, a lot of the themes, a lot of the stylings of the movie into, I think, a much more even more confident second showing with Weapons is extraordinary.
Yeah.
I think these are both wonderful, wonderful movies. And they're horror movies that do not hold your hand, I think. The most important thing, as you guys have both said, is kind of delving into the mystery that surrounds what is actually happening here. And what happens to Barbarian is very, very different from what happens in Weapons.
Yeah.
But again, there's a similar way of storytelling. It reminds me a little bit of Hitchcock, where you have the elements in play, and the director and the cast, that they trust the audience enough for you to figure things out
And to go along
the
for the ride.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
And the ride, oh my gosh, what a ride Barbarian is.
So my husband came home in 2022 from having seen this new horror film called Barbarian, and I, as you guys know, I'm not a massive horror person. And I'll say, do you think it is the sort of thing I could have handled? And he said, well, funnily enough, you probably could. And I remember him starting to tell me what happened and sort of saying, do you think you'll ever watch it? Otherwise, I'm going to tell you the most amazing twist. And I'm fairly sure that I said to him, no, I mean, I might see it. Don't tell me exactly. But I remember him saying, there's a huge turning point and there's something about a basement. And that basically the premise is that this girl turns up and the Airbnb has been double booked. And I remember saying, well, that's a really clever premise, and not really knowing any further. And it wasn't until we decided to do this with Weapons that I was like, I'm going to have to see it. And so he sat you know how when you're sitting with somebody who's seen the film already, so he sat on another sofa, being able to see me seeing it for the first time.
Nice.
So so that was Barbarian for me as recently as yesterday.
Thoughts, feelings, responses, reactions?
The first half, absolutely brilliant. And where I would tie it into Weapons, one of the things I saw Weapons twice actually. I saw it at a media screening, and then I went along for fun to see it. Not because I thought it was the greatest film ever, but because it's a very enjoyable ride, and I love multi-perspective films, and so the thing that I liked very much about both of them actually was the development of sort of a relational dynamic between the guy and the girl. I liked very much the scenes in Weapons where Julia Garner, and I forget now what her blooming name is, Justine, that's right, Justine Gandy and the cop, played by Alden Ehrenreich. I liked their conversation and their chat, and a similar thing. I mean, Bill Skarsgård is absolutely my favourite Skarsgård now. I hadn't seen him in it. I hadn't seen him in anything other than the John Wick movies.
I saw a joke the other day online that said something like, I feel like every few years they just add another Skarsgård in the mix. I don't even notice.
There's another brother. Because we know there's Stellan, who's still going strong.
He's the dad, right?
Yeah, and Alexander is one of the most uncomfortably good-looking men you'll ever see in your life. Bill is much more my type. And there's a third brother who we don't hear as much from. But...
And doesn't Stellan have like 7 kids or something?
Well, possibly.
And one of them is not an actor, because we looked this up.
Right.
One of them is a doctor, and the others are all actors.
Yeah. Wow. And what a hard act to follow. I mean, I saw Stellan recently in Sentimental Value, which was just in the film festival and will be getting a proper release. And he's more tremendous in that than I've ever seen. Yeah. This is a dude who's been the dad, has been around forever. But anyway, all I'm saying is...
And Andor, class act.
Right,
so good.
Right. So, what a career. Yeah. So, sorry, you asked me what I thought of Barbarian. Loved the first half. Loved the twist to suddenly see Justin Long in the car being brought down a peg or two. And loved the humour elements of him measuring up...
so funny.
Measuring up...
Because you're still nervous, right? You're terrified.
Yeah.
It's...
And because you, as the audience, know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I feel with both films, and we'll talk about the major similarities between what actually happens in both films, I don't ever love the third act ever as much. I never think the third act is as propulsive as the very clever setup of the first act and then the sort of the propulsion of the second act. I just never do.
On Bill Skarsgård, it's such clever casting because, he's most known for playing Pennywise in It. And so, she opens the door, you think, oh, here's trouble. And the Skarsgårds have that quality of being very good looking and unnervingly
and he says all the right things. Oh, I didn't want to open the wine. I didn't want, and you think, And
it's not until there's that moment where he's sort of sleep talking that you start to realise maybe because the door closes right when she's walking towards him. But he could be in cahoots with whatever's happening down here. You don't know where it's at. So it's a very fun setup. So I watched Barbarian, probably off your recommendation, William, but I didn't rush to see it. It was maybe a year or so later. I was having a hangout with my brother, and we put on the film. Had the most glorious time. It was, I think what's great about it is that wonderful balance between comedy and horror. It's genuinely scary. I've stayed in a lot of Airbnbs, and I've arrived when no one's there, and I've gone into locked boxes, and I've stayed in people's homes when they're out at work, and then I'm in bed and they come home and I never see them. It's just there is that weird quality of you're in someone's house and you don't quite know what's going on. So that's a great setup. And then as we mentioned, the kind of measuring bits, and then the full step into comedy with the poor woman who's down there. She's scary and grotesque.
So you think that's funny?
Well,
see,
there was elements that were quite funny.
When she's shaking the bottle in the camera.
The hair on the...
I get that. I get some people would think that. So I don't find that funny at all. Particularly the hair on the nipple of the bottle. Oh my God! You know that I hate all grossness. But no.
Oh, when it's forcing the guy to breastfeed.
Yes, I know.
Hilarious.
No, you see, I don't find that funny.
Well, I found it very funny. And I actually, one of my really good friends, I thought, oh, she's going to love this. And she's going to laugh at that. And I thought that years ago. Well, when it came time to watch Weapons, her and I, we love horror movies. And so we go to the cinema together. I said, hey, look, we need to watch Barbarian first together. So we sat down and watched together, and sure enough, when that moment happened, she was giggling and away, and I said, "I knew you were going to laugh at that."
Oh, right.
I just forced myself from not looking at her the whole time. You know? But I enjoyed it as much on the second run. I would agree with you that final act, you know, doesn't quite go to the heights, excuse the pun, because they end up on the top of a silo, that I would hope. But I would disagree with Weapons. I was quite satisfied with the...
I think most people were.
Can I say that the ending of Weapons is, for me, the most satisfying 15 minutes.
Do you mean with the kids running? Yes, that's a fabulous scene.
It's all a setup, right?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So, sorry, pivoting into Weapons for a little bit.
Yeah.
You see, especially during the Alex segment, the horrible trauma that this horrible witch has, you know, put on this kid, you know, enthralling his parents, forcing him to feed horrible Campbell's soup. What a product tie-in, by the way, Campbell's soup.
Completely traumatizing for him.
Yeah. But you know from the start that he's a smart cookie, right? He knows that something's up. He tries to wake his parents up. He plays along. He doesn't talk to authorities or his teacher. And she makes just the mistake of showing him how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
And then when you see him do it and he snaps the twig, and you're like, hell yeah!
I agree.
And the people in my audience were going nuts. It's like,
And that scene is so beautifully shot. It's like those zombie movies, or it's like Edgar Wright, or actually it is. It's like zombie movies where you are following the chase. It's astonishing. And the first time I saw it and they tore her apart, I wasn't that into it. Not in a objecting way. Just I was like, man, okay, I guess I had to end it somehow. The second time, for some reason, I appreciated it a whole lot more. So yeah,
I just loved it as well, William. It was those things where it's like such a satisfying, simple plot device that I should have seen coming, didn't see it coming, made total sense.
Because I thought he was going to burn the tree or something like that, you know, to awaken everyone. But no.
Turned it on there. And I watched an interview with the director, and he said that whole sequence was so exhausting to film. I mean, first of all, you're working with all these young people, and then just all of the logistics of them smashing through windows and gates, and it was massive. And he said it was so exhausting that I don't know how long they filmed it. I think it was a couple of weeks or something, but it's such a fun ending. And I guess the other thing that I liked is that the immediate danger was not alleviated from him snapping the twig. You know, Josh Brolin was still trying to kill what's her character's name? Justine.
Yes.
And the parents were still trying to get him sort of Shining style through the door. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And it's interesting. I mean, I really did enjoy it a lot more the second time. And of course, I also had that thrill of watching it, knowing what was going to happen. And so therefore, watching little Alex Lilly, you know how the little voice would say, but Alex didn't talk to anybody. And you just see Alex sitting, dangling his little feet, and them offering him a Coke can in the police station and that. And it's interesting to watch it with the knowledge that he does know what's going on. But
I did think when we were getting his story, and it's like she'd been there for ages and the parents had been in that trance for ages, I'm like, did nobody come around to this house and investigate this very weird scenario? And then, of course, they show you that moment with them taking all the stuff off. And I'm like, it's still ridiculous that the police wouldn't notice anything off about this very weird scenario. But it didn't matter because you could tell that there's a lot of things in that film. And who's it? I keep forgetting the director's name. What's his name?
Zach Cregger.
Zach Cregger, he's like, there's plot holes all through my movie. But I didn't let that stop me. As long as I kind of spotlighted things.
Also, it seems like Zach Cregger, not a fan of police. Just putting it out there.
Well, also interesting that both
because of Barbarian,
but both protagonists, both antagonists are very, very unwell-looking women with stringy hair.
Right.
Yeah.
They're both, and actually, so one of my issues with Barbarian, which is not Barbarian's fault, it's Heretic's fault, is that it suddenly went very Heretic. But it's not Barbarian's fault because it predates Heretic. But in Heretic, they go downstairs and they pass cages and they go downstairs, and then there's that creepy woman in the dungeon. And I was like, well, I've seen this before, but of course it's not.
Well, I think it's interesting you bring up Heretic, because I felt that when I watched Heretic, that Barbarian was a better film than Heretic.
Yes.
But the other one that I think about, and I thought about this with Weapons, was Longlegs, because
I've not seen that.
I found that really frustrating.
I thought Weapons was way better than Longlegs.
Oh, interesting.
Longlegs has, logic issues, character issues, and just a lot of it's more substance than actual good storytelling.
Yeah.
But Weapons and Barbarian are very similar in style, and so I just think the way that the film was drawing from sort of Lynchian references, like with the gun on top of the building. The house.
That was odd. And
then
weapon.
The Shining, with I mentioned already. Another connection I want to make is to the TV series Carnivàle, and the principal of the school. I'm pretty sure he's
Benadict Wong.
No, not Benadict Wong. Who was it? He was one of the chief of police. The father, father of
Toby Huss.
Is it Toby Huss? Is that his name?
Yeah.
And he's the father of the girl that's married to the cop that's cheating on. Yeah. So he's in Carnivàle. He plays the father, and he's got his wife and his two girls are kind of in this burlesque act in the Carnivàle. And the woman that plays Aunt Gladys, she's also one of the key actors in Carnivàle. And because I was thinking, where do I know
Madigan?
her? Yeah, that's her name.
Right.
She's brilliant in Carnivàle.
She's brilliant in Weapons.
And I'm thinking he must be a fan of Carnivàle because he's drawn from these two actors. And
That's
it's very
interesting.
similar in there's certain thematic ideas as well that come through. So I just think he confidently is drawing from some really great sources without it feeling too trite.
Yes.
It also Weapons gave me strong Magnolia vibes.
Right.
Oh,
Kind
it's,
of
that's been one of the films.
disjointed, connection. And then the more you watch, the more you understand where people are coming from.
He's
Yes.
referenced that as a key influence. And it gave him the confidence to
And
write
prisoners, or maybe it's viewers have said that it's a combination of Magnolia and Prisoners because it looks very Prisoners as well. But then when you think about it, Barbarian is a little bit Prisoners and that kind of thing as well, isn't it?
For sure.
Well, can I just go back to the forced breastfeeding? One of the wonderful things about Justin Long, of course, who has a titchy witchy little cameo.
I love it.
In Weapons. One of the wonderful things about his role as AJ, not McBride, but something like that, the sleazy film producer.
Actor, right?
Yeah.
Is he an actor in it?
He's an actor in Barbarian.
I thought he was a producer. It's fine. But the fact that he then comes clean to his mate, I can be pretty persuasive, blah blah, which is great.
What a great setup of a horrible protagonist. It's not even an anti-hero because we don't like him.
He's
But
just the protagonist.
But it's just
terrible.
great that we know that we don't really we don't care what happens to him. Whereas Georgina doesn't know, and so. But, or Tess rather. But anyway, I thought, well, actually, in a way, Barbarian becomes a rape revenge movie because that forcing him to breastfeed, if you will, and he's struggling to get away and thinks it's all gross and all that sort of thing. That woman is forcing him to do something that he allegedly did to, well, actually, he apologizes, doesn't he, to Bonnie or Betty or whoever he calls. But do you know what I mean? I thought, that's kind of subtle and interesting.
I thought they did a good job of dealing with the kind of Me Too conversation without feeling preachy or too serious. And it's like, well, let's focus on a guy that has clearly done something.
Yeah.
And he's a great Justin Long. What a great person to play that.
Yes, well, again, you see with the casting, and this is not really that revelatory, but at the same time as casting Bill Skarsgård fresh from Pennywise and turning him into a nice fellow, how lovely to have someone really kind of sweet and a bit dickish as Justin Long. There's nothing threatening or scary about Justin Long. And when there's the scene where he stands at the top of the basement stairs and he's in his boxers and his t-shirt from sleeping, and he's like, and he was about to go down there, and I said, well, I hope he puts shoes on because I'm always in the mind of the character, and I'm like, you don't know what's down there. And then the next shot, he's actually dressed, he's doing up his shoes, he's got his grey t-shirt and his pink shirt on, and he looks like, he looks really sweet, but he's such a wussy little fellow, and then he kind of goes, and he gets the knife, and you can tell that he just doesn't have a clue. What a wonderful, I don't know if it's anti-hero or whatever, but he's just kind of a loser.
Yeah. I loved Weapons. I had such a good time. I think my only real criticism of the movie is I think there was one too many perspective stories. I think there should have been one less. I don't know
maybe the junkie?
I don't know how much the junkie added to the story.
I didn't remember James's junkie one from my first viewing. And so when we saw it again, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I did think to myself, did we need that?
Yeah.
But then remember, he's the only one who sees the children in the basement.
He's a great moment. Okay,
cracks the case.
Exactly.
Okay, I take it back because
I
when
did
he breaks,
think, do we need him?
yeah, okay, I lie. I take it back because I've forgotten about that. That is one of the. I thought that was such a great sequence when he's in that house and he's broken in, and you're like, what is he going to find? And it's what a great premise because he's not interested in going to the police because that's always the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Why
Like
don't you
you
just
do
go
the
to the
DVDs,
police?
like, ooh, Willow.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, sorry," and sees them
and
on
then he
the
carries
couch.
on.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then that moment when he finds more, I literally was like,
Yeah.
they're all under the house.
And then when the parents stand up, like out of focus, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So in a way, we probably didn't need Josh Brolin's character, except that you don't put Josh Brolin in a
but
film
his
without
story
that.
was great.
Actually, yes, we do need him because he's the investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that classic when he goes to the wife and says, "Can I look at the footage?"
ring
And
cam,
she says, "I'm not comfortable with that." And then Zach Cregger does not make a big deal about it, but it speaks to character that he then waits for Justin Long's dad to come home, and then he kind of goes behind her back, and suddenly he's there. You know.
And it's a beautiful, like, 1-2. You see them looking at the security footage, and then it cuts to over the shoulder, and the wife's just standing there
Yes,
going,
that's right.
oh my goodness.
Having been completely
It's
undermined.
so funny.
And
Like,
it is, and it's just character. It
Yeah.
just shows that Josh Brolin is a certain type of guy.
So maybe I need to rewatch it to see whether that because there's no tidy way to tidy that up because they do bring something to it, don't they? When you get Alex's story, it's like, oh my gosh, what has this kid seen?
But it does seem like there's more than you need. So then,
because you know what it is? It's rule of threes, rule of fives, right? They're just satisfying structures, and so to have six
Yes.
stories,
so therefore, do we need the principal? Well, we do because
that was brilliant as well.
and that was so lovely. And the way his husband is like, "Come on in, she
Yeah.
needs a glass of water," and he's like, "Well, we're just sitting down, and it's a Saturday."
when we're about to eat 7 hot dogs?
That's right.
And when he's like got his little pincer
Yeah,
hand
I
going.
know. It's just the most adorable relationship. So again,
And
you
it
know,
does show us the mythology of Aunt Gladys without telling us, right? We
Absolutely.
understand, and we've seen her take the things.
yes.
So
And she, I love how in that scene she's able to do all of this and just basically create a witch's brew in front of just completely unsuspecting strangers.
Because you don't think anyone's going to do that.
It reminds me a little bit of No Country for Old Men, where Anton Chigurh
Brolin.
oh my god, connections.
Yeah.
But when Chigurh kills the poor farmer at the beginning, he just has no clue what's about to happen to him.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that in the script there was an Aunt Gladys prequel storyline, which I believe they're going to now turn into a whole film. But and I wonder if 7 would have maybe, like, obviously they would have had to be shorter. But I'm just a stickler for like satisfying numbers and structures. And,
I think 7 would have done me in. I didn't feel that I needed any more.
yeah, fair enough.
And in a way, Justine Gandy's is almost, no, you're still, of course, I don't know.
Well, hers sets up the mystery, doesn't it?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. And yeah, so the interesting thing about the Amy Madigan character, the Aunt Gladys character is, and again, I love that Zach Cregger knows how to write a story. He's not actually just a horror filmmaker. He's not jump scares and grossness. He actually creates characters, as we've said. I love the fact that that Amy Madigan's Aunt Gladys is so peculiar and has the wig, and nobody really knows how to deal with her, but they're not going to outright be rude to her because when people
people like, I know women like that.
Exactly.
They're
So
just
when
like,
somebody
they're
is
a bit strange, but
when
they're
that
kind and they're
strange,
precocious.
you don't reject them outright because you don't
Yeah.
know you're in a horror film and that they're actually a witch.
Yeah.
And so you are a little bit courteous and so on and so forth. And she does it. All of her answers, you notice it very much on a second viewing. All of her answers are absolutely perfect and absolutely credible, gracious, and bang on.
Do you know, two things to say? One is that he was when I'm forgetting names today. Director spoke to actor.
Yeah.
What's their names? Cregger spoke to Madigan.
Yeah.
He said, "Look, there's 2 ways you could play this. One, she is a woman who's terminally ill and she's finding solutions, and this just happens to be the solution that she's found, and it's kind of developed into this very horrific situation. Or she's something else. She's a creature or some sort of demon or something that's inhabiting this body." And of course, there's all that parasite imagery.
It's cordyceps.
And she said, "Oh, I'll play it the second way."
Yeah.
So he gave her the choice and didn't, and let her kind of play in that sandbox. And the other thing is that he wrote the script as it came to him. So
That's
he started with
right.
the premise,
I love
didn't know
that.
where it was going to go, and just started writing.
So I saw that, and how marvelous that he was like, so I'm going to have a whole lot of kids in a classroom, and what happens next? They disappear in the night. Okay, cool. Well, why did that happen? And so he's asking himself the questions and then writing the thing. And that's why I was going to say that when you said, Jeremy, that he says there are plot holes, there are kind of mishaps going on. Fair enough too, because he's making it up as he goes along.
Yeah.
But what a wonderful, you can feel that that's Barbarian.
Yeah.
Oh, we all go to Airbnbs. So what would it be like if we turned up in a grotty part of town late at night in the rain, cliche, and then this had happened?
I love how she doesn't realize it's a grotty part of town until the next day.
It's so scary.
Poor old Detroit.
It's so I've been there as well. I don't know what, you don't know what neighbourhood you're in until the next morning. And
Yeah.
then, not that I've been in that situation, but
No.
you arrive somewhere in
And
the
that's
night.
legit Detroit as well. And interesting. And at the time, you're like, are we in a fairy tale? Because in the daytime, that little house is pristine and all the rest are dreadful. And Justin Long's character clearly pays no attention to his miscellaneous rental properties. Otherwise, he wouldn't maintain it there.
Yeah.
But it's actually then when you've got the flashback to the old dude.
Which is very Longlegs, that whole sequence.
Right.
Different
And-
aspect ratio, different camera
Yeah.
stock.
Right, exactly.
I
and
mean,
all of
what
a
was that,
sudden...
like fisheye lens?
That's
or
right.
something? Yeah.
And a bit more bird's eye,
Yeah.
not bird's eye, point of view as well. That's what
yeah,
goes
yeah.
weird. There's a moment where Justin Long's in the tunnel and suddenly we're looking at it with his
Right.
gangly arms
Oh, yeah,
pointing
that's
out.
right,
and
that's
all of
right.
a sudden it's all become...
Honestly,
But,
I will love this movie for this forever, which is basement, rope, open wall,
Yes.
weird corridor, creepy room with dirty bed and camera. Then there's like metal door with stairs
Yes.
and kind of underground railroad kind of things going on. And then later on, it goes even further with the pit.
Yeah.
But then when Justin Long turns right, I was like, what's down there? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
You see cables?
yeah. And I think that's kind of where the movie loses its steam a
Yeah.
little bit because you've figured everything out.
Well, I was thinking, I wondered whether there were just going to be tunnels going into all of those grotty old houses.
Yeah.
Because what is all those
Oh.
tunnels in aid of otherwise?
Yeah.
But I didn't like the lovely, well-meaning, as the stereotype of the friendly black optimist.
The magic hobo.
Right, that's right. The magic hobo who says, well, I've been here all this time and I know all about the incest and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and then he dies so unceremoniously.
But his death is hilarious. It's like perfect horror movie fodder. Where he's like, I've lived here 15 years and never once have I...
Yeah, I know. He really loves Keegan. Is it Keegan?
Cregger.
Cregger. He's got a very unforgettable name. He loves ripping heads apart, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
yes.
Of course, the end of Weapons is the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
tearing limbs from limbs because, yeah, that's right. They tear her apart. And then there's the bit where, she pulls his arm off and...
About the end of Aunt Gladys, can I just say how
Yes.
wonderful it is for a horror antagonist to just be, like, pulverized. You watch stuff like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street and it's like, these are unkillable demons.
Yeah.
And you have all these sequels where the kids just can't get away. And in this, it's like, nope, she's a goner. Like...
Yeah.
And there's nothing to stop this series from developing with other people engaging with the little bonsai tree, whatever it is.
What's the bonsai tree? What?
The tree that they break the twigs
Yeah.
off.
Oh,
you know?
I see.
Like, they could be other people that do that.
Because the tree's still around.
Yeah, and what's the origin of this tree? They could mine it for whatever they want.
Yeah.
Alex could continue being a bit naughty, and
Yeah.
who knows?
And also just with the ending, I think so much of it works for me. The fact that
Weapons,
the people,
you mean?
Weapons. Oh, yeah. I think Weapons definitely has a stronger ending than Barbarian. I agree with that. But how things aren't okay, right? Like the day is saved, but the kids are still
Mute.
The parents are gone.
Yeah, the parents are gone.
Like it's a really good way of looking at. I mean, if you want to look at it, I know there's all the school shooting imagery and how whether or not it is a direct parable about school shooting and gun violence in America, like when something like this happens that traumatizes an entire community, that trauma just does not go away even after the case is solved, even after the baddie is killed.
That's true. That's true.
And it's such this wonderful feeling of, but things aren't okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I think it was more definitively like none of the kids were going to be okay as well. But I think they added in post that little comment from the narrator that, that the Josh
Something
Brolin's son started kind of regaining some sort of movement.
Two years later.
Yeah.
Oh no, 2 years later, moving but still not talking or something.
Or some of them even began to talk.
That's
again.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Which is quite nice, really. You're still very disturbing, but the maybe test audiences kind of responded that it was too unsatisfying.
Well, at the very beginning of the the child's voiceover, it says you won't hear about this in any news. You won't see it in the newspapers because nobody talked about it or let it get out.
You brought up fairy tale, Sarah.
Yes, I was going to say.
Very fairy tale logic and a little bit of, magic realism.
Hansel and Gretel, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking Pied Piper, actually. So I thought about the old lady with cancer blowing her flute and getting all the children to come to her. The whole follow her out of town thing. I don't remember if the rats tear apart the Pied Piper at the end of that particular fairy tale, but
the Hansel and Gretel, kick the witch into the oven, right?
Well, that's true.
Hoisted by
it did.
own petard.
That's right.
Yeah.
It did feel very, very grim and very grim fairy tale.
What else I really liked in Weapons as well was the Justine character. She was not perfect. She was problematic. She'd clearly been involved in some sort of inappropriate, whether it was inappropriate or not, but she'd been done for something. As a teacher, I'm like, no, she's all defending driving a kid alone in the car. I'm like, you don't do that.
Yeah, I was thinking as well. I was like, that is a bad teacher.
Yeah.
We go through training for this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But I've done that. I've done that, and so I understood why
would you, if you had been reprimanded for it, you wouldn't be actively supporting that?
No,
position?
if I had been reprimanded for it, then I wouldn't be. But the thing is, I've done it absolutely in good faith, and not been remotely hauled up on it because of working in a slightly different educational context and so on. But I got that it wasn't the worst thing, and I'm glad again that Cregger didn't write her as some sort of grooming kind of like abuser.
But she's also not a great teacher because she's wants to talk to Alex, and I fully agree with the principal. It's like, leave the kid alone. It's not about you.
Ambush him in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
But again, really credible because.
Yeah, but not good teaching, Sarah.
No, and not good people's, but not good peopling. But the fact that even Alden Ehrenreich says to her in the pub, it's not. He doesn't quite say it's not all about you, but he says you kind of have a tendency to think that everyone's against you and thinking about you. But both he and Benadict Wong's school headmaster sort of say to her, "Lady, it's not all about you. This is the problem. This kid is traumatized. Step back."
And the film plays with our what we're reading right on the screen, because then you've got the cop's partner, I forget her name, and she follows it into the liquor store, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, she's one of the crazy.
That's Julia and Raphael.
Yeah, and she's brilliant, and then she pours the alcohol all over it. I guess to make it light on fire, but it's not
I didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah,
but then of course the converse of that is Benadict Wong's creepy running.
So when that happens, the setup again is brilliant because you have this confrontation finally between Josh Brolin and Julia Garner.
Yeah,
and it's at a gas station. Things are uncomfortable. And then she stares off in the distance, and you think it's a dream sequence?
Yes.
We've had 2 dream sequences already.
Yeah,
yes.
True.
But this ain't no dream sequence. And you realize who it is and what's happening. It's like, oh gosh, there's stuff here that we do not understand, and hopefully the movie will explain it later. And just how Benadict Wong has his eyes bugging out.
Oh, yeah.
Is he just doing that himself, or is he wearing fake eyes?
I think he's
really creepy.
I think he's doing that himself.
Is it because he's covered in blood, maybe, and the whites of his eyes are really pronounced?
Because later on in his story, there's that wonderful scene where he's enthralled. He's killed his husband, and he's just walking, or he's running through like a baseball dive.
Yes.
What a great way.
Do you know what that
tell a
reminded me
story.
of? Yeah. The Simpsons movie when Bart's skateboarding naked. Do you remember that?
No.
It's the joke that he's naked skateboarding and everybody's covering his penis.
Oh, I
see. So everything's covering his penis, and then one point the woman goes, "Don't look where my finger's pointing," and her finger covers it up.
Oh, I see.
And then there's this moment where he goes past a hedge, and the hedge only reveals his penis.
Right,
it's a little cartoon penis.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
It's very funny, but it's those kind of quick cuts.
Yeah.
It's a nice little connection.
Yeah.
But that setup, and I love this about, well, I mean, Barbarian started this, right? You have this build up to a crescendo, and as, the horrible monsters screaming, suddenly we're in a completely different story.
Yeah.
And then
Which is wonderful relief, I will say, Because you have the confusion, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Wait, this is a
Who's
monster
this
movie?
guy?
Yeah.
Wait a second. I thought it was like 2 cuts of the dead or 4 cuts of the
Oh, one cut of the
One
dead.
cut of the dead will do.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a lovely bit of light relief, and you've got him, and he's singing, and he's rapping, and he doesn't quite get the words right.
Tavi.
And it's really fun. And then it all goes wrong.
Because Weapons does that 4 times,
Yes.
right? Or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I love how that motif of building up a story and you're starting to be invested. And it's like Josh Brolin, he's drawing the lines, he's triangulating, he's got this, and then something so explosive happens before the cut to another perspective, and you, as the audience, are like, "Come on, give me more, give me more."
I wonder if our druggy guy had died at the end of his story, because he's not really needed. Like, he's just there as a minion, isn't he? In the end of the.
Well, the comic relief is.
It is funny when he's
Well, the
punching
fact,
him.
Yes.
the fact that
He's
he
just
won't die.
yeeting him across the room.
The fact that he won't die is quite funny.
Yeah,
But,
that is true. That is true. I did as well like the film for showing us the villain, because sometimes you watch those movies and, you know, the Blair Witch kind of effect where you never see anything, and it's great for a time, but it was fun to just kind of spend time with Aunt Gladys.
Yes.
Because she's just such a charisma. I mean, the amount of Aunt Gladys at Halloween's this year.
Oh
I think.
my God.
Oh my
God,
gosh,
yeah.
yes. I did think it was poignant. Intentionally or otherwise, that when she was dreadfully ill and she was throwing up, and he came in and he said, "Can I get you some water?" and was a very sweet little nephew.
Yeah.
And that was genuine. He wasn't
Yeah.
all like, "Can I put cyanide in it?" or anything. I thought that was lovely. Again,
she was the
I
aunt,
like the
right?
character writing.
I
She's
think
the
so,
great
yeah.
aunt. So she's the aunt actually of she's the aunt of the mum.
Yeah.
But you know, like we call my auntie so-and-so to my nephew.
Because
you
I was
know.
almost wondering if the reveal would be that she's the parasite that's,
maybe.
she's snuck her way into the family, but there's no hint of that.
No,
She's
she
just-
says that she went to so I can't remember the name of the parents who are sitting on the couch comatose, but the woman, Aunt Gladys is her auntie, and Aunt Gladys says that she went to her mum and dad but couldn't get what she needed from them, which is why she then had to go to the...
she's seen younger people.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she said, I could have stayed with them, or I did for a while, but I didn't feel any better, or something.
Where's all like okay, this I don't mind. I'm not criticizing the movie for this, but this is a plot hole. Did they not talk to their parents and like they're comatose as well? You know? Like,
No, I
surely
don't think
you
she
would-
was I don't think they were comatose. That's the point. I think that it doesn't go into it, but it's just like it didn't work for them, so I've decided to come and live with you guys. But I thought it was really cute the way that Alex Lily's in the car with his dad before
Yeah.
the dad is there, and how long's she going to be with us? And he says, "Well, we don't really know, but she's not very well, but probably not more than a month." And that's really good writing.
I think it reminded me of Tarantino as well, and that he stayed with where the story is. You know, the story was where it was, which is very Tarantino-esque.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, Tarantino, when he writes his film, sometimes we're in scenes and we're like, how does this add to the whole thing?
Right.
And then inevitably it does. It's a piece of the puzzle that's going to
Yeah.
come up, and that same thing happened with Weapons. You know, so
And I like all that. That's the colour
Yeah.
in the film that makes these sorts of films much more interesting to me than, oh, I'm in a cabin.
Yeah,
Oh, look,
yeah.
here's a cellar. Why don't I? I mean, that was hilarious when originally in Act 1 of Barbarian, Georgina sees Tess sees the basement and everything, and she sees the door, and then she goes,
Nah.
and goes back up. I mean, imagine if you'd seen that in a cinema. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Because you're like, yeah, girl, there's no way we're going down there.
And then the whole setup after she decides to go in is just, it's so simple but so brilliant. That really, what is it, like a sodium lamp, which gives it that airy orange glow, using a mirror, like
Yeah.
a Zelda puzzle.
Real clever.
So good. And then adding so much to the atmosphere as well. And then when you go in and she turns on the green light of the horrible torture chamber, you're like, oh
very sore.
dear.
I think it's that feeling like I want to see what's here, but I don't want them to
Yeah.
walk in there.
Yeah.
And they go deeper and further, and then so of course, as we mentioned, when he's measuring the ground floor, it's so funny.
He's just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, sweet.
yeah.
And then when he's in the torture chamber, he kicks the bucket of blood and it's like, oh, gross.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, he's not even like, why is there a room here with a bed and a camera?
Yeah,
and a blood hand on the wall.
He watches the videos, doesn't he? And he's very
He does.
disturbed by that.
Eventually.
Down with the creepy old dude.
Now that's all. See, I don't really like when I say I don't like. I mean, goodness, what do I mean by that? But yeah, there's a whole subplot going on under
He just
there.
sort of kills himself because he's scared of the authorities finding him, isn't he?
Yeah.
I realised it on the second viewing, is that
But he's almost dead anyway.
But that's the thing that motivates him to get the gun. That's a whole little moment that's not as well.
And what's with all the videos?
established.
I mean, we know what's with the videos. They presumably kidnapped a whole bunch of people, and those people have, and then the whole kind of making more children out of it. And I mean,
Which the timeline doesn't quite work out really, because this supposedly happened in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
And
Well, I guess he had been doing this for a long time before that, right?
oh, okay.
but where are all these
Okay.
children
Well,
or
in the
babies?
that's why there's cages.
Yeah, but where are they? There aren't
They're
any.
dead
Yeah.
somewhere.
It's like, nah, it doesn't matter. They're dead somewhere.
All right,
They're
let's-
buried in the garden.
Let's do final thoughts. Who would like to start off with your final thoughts?
Well, thank you for forcing me to watch Barbarian. As often happens in this podcast, we eventually say, let's pair X and Y, and Sarah goes, I've been hoping to avoid
fair-
Y for my entire
To be
life.
fair, sometimes you bring up the why. You're the one that brings up the why.
Do you know,
here with
to be fair, that's true. So I do it to myself.
It always surprises me when you bring up a why.
Yeah, actually.
So why do you bring up the why?
But I'm
Sarah?
really good at the connections, that's why.
Why?
So really glad to have seen both films now. Really enjoyed the stuff that I appreciate of both. Really like Zach Cregger's work. If I'm not going to be a horror aficionado, at very least I can have the people I respect, like Ari Aster. I don't like all the stuff that he does, but I like what I like, and I respect what, da-da-da. So, what's my point? I really appreciate that the performances across both films are excellent, because I am not looking. Remember when we did Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah.
And we lolled about the fact that, this is a seminal work, blah, blah. But I'm not interested in watching substandard performances in anything. I'm just not that guy. So, yeah, really appreciated. Really love multi-perspective works, which both of these films sort of are, or at least, multi-protagonist sort of point of view, and blah blah blah. And I actually genuinely would be excited for whatever Zach Cregger does next.
Do you know what he's doing next?
Okay.
He's doing a new Resident Evil movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is... It's going to be amazing, I hope.
It probably, but that means that it isn't completely original IP.
That's right.
Will it be
No, he says he's not doing anything from the games or the movies. It's going to be a new story set in kind of the Resident Evil universe.
Well, maybe that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he's so much fun. I'll happily watch anything. I agree with you, Sarah. I'll be interested to see what he does next.
Because he's a smart fella. I love the idea of, I've only written one screenplay in my life and it was pretty rubbish, but at least I did it. But I love the idea of going, there's a premise, and then starting to type it up on your little old typewriter and going, what's going to happen next? And I love that as a method of work for
I just
him.
hope he doesn't turn into another Ari Aster, because I haven't really been impressed with his...
Have you guys seen Eddington?
Yes.
Oh, did you like
I
it?
really liked it, but
good.
but
Okay.
it's different, and it's not anything like Hereditary or those kind of...
I know, Jeremy, your thoughts on Beau is Afraid.
I didn't like Beau is Afraid at all.
It had some good stuff in it. It was just
Yeah.
too long and weird and silly.
And Eddington's very, very long, but different. But, it's still going to be polarizing.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a typical horror film. But my Godfather's Joaquin Phoenix is absolutely extraordinary.
Oh, well, it's worth seeing it for that.
Of course, it is. So, I think these two, Zach and Aria, interesting fellas to keep an eye on.
Nice. William?
Love both movies. Again, Barbarian really holds up. This is maybe just my second viewing after loving it the first time. Really, really great. And then Weapons is awesome. Like, so much of what you guys have said rings true. Like, such a great time at the movies.
It's fun, right?
It's fun.
It
It's
is
a
fun.
horror movie that is not afraid to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary. It's genuinely scary and creepy. But the humor is not overbearing. It's organic. It's contextual. The scene where Josh Brolin has a horrible nightmare,
Awful.
wakes up and exclaims "WTF!"
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Just like Mwah.
Everybody
So
laughs
good.
at that. But what an amazing nightmare
Yeah.
as well. That's a very well constructed. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just find with both movies, and you feel this particularly strongly with Weapons, I think Zach Cregger is just a very, very patient filmmaker as well. Like, he builds things up. He builds up story, builds up character, does not rush the audience to conclusions. A lot of the shots, I don't know if the two movies have the same cinematographer, but they are very, very paced, right? The camera is slowly panning, it's kind of that paranormal activity thing, but it's always extremely intentional. The jump scares and the tension is built up organically so that when it does happen, you know you're in for a good time. And yeah, like Weapons is such a blast. The ending is fantastic. The build-up is great. I think all 6 stories are really interesting. And it's not quite Rashomon, but it gives me similar vibes of that as well, right? You have kind of a story build-up based on facets of perspectives. Acting is all great. I love these movies, and Weapons, it's going to be in my top 10, absolutely.
Nice,
Very
cool.
good.
Top 10 of the year?
Of the year, yeah.
Not of ever.
Not of all time.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you have said. And something you said before, William, is something that I've been thinking about with both of these films, which is simplicity. And there is just really good storytelling and a simple idea that's not simple in terms of complexities of, ideas of humanity and things like that. But I'm liking these stories that are just good storytelling, good movies, especially in light of everything else that's happening in cinema with the franchises and the multi-characters and the multiverses that we've talked so much about. I couldn't help but think about Gerard Johnson as well and how he's kind of sort of created a space for himself in the horror sort of wide appealing genre and how much Madigan has been a huge fixture in terms of modern horror films. So similar in terms of that holding of comedy and horror together.
Did you guys see Megan 2.0?
I haven't yet.
Not yet.
No? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also Jordan Peele, I guess I mentioned him at the beginning,
Yeah.
but a very, very similar setup to Zach Cregger's career.
Yeah, and similar kind of style as
And
well.
similar kind of styles.
Yeah.
Interesting stories, a bit twisty, a bit clever,
Yeah.
good performances, and then whatever happens by the end, we may have differing views. But yeah, interesting stuff
Yeah.
with clever commentary and ideas. Yeah.
And for me, going to the cinema to see Weapons, packed out cinema, I think it was on a Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, so much fun. We've mentioned that a few times, people hollering or commenting, and this is the sort of thing you want to experience at the cinema.
Yeah.
You want to go and experience it together,
Yeah.
and this filmmaker is doing that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context. If you enjoy our podcast, then please share it with your film-loving friends. You can listen to Cinema in Context on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and where all great podcasts can be found. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, which are great places to let us know what you think of this episode, as well as give us suggestions for future films to discuss and compare. Look out for our next episode in a month's time, and until then,
No hora mai.